Hello and welcome to the Dojo, a search marketing news podcast hosted by Exposure Ninja. My name is Dale Davies. I'm the head of marketing for Exposure Ninja, and I'm joined by our fantastic CEO, Charlie Marchant. How you doing, Charlie?
Doing great, thanks, Dale. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm pretty excited to talk about this week's topic. And if you can see it above us, if you're watching us live or in video, we're going to be talking about potentially AI overview ranking factors being revealed. How much have you heard about this so far, Charlie?
Quite a lot. I've read quite deeply into this Ahrefs
Oh,
study, and I think it's a pretty exciting one.
interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one then. So I'm just going to bring up for the people who are listening at home or on the commute, in the car, in the subway station, whatever it is. There's an Ahrefs study that's been released, and I've just brought up an infographic which gives an overview of the different possible ranking factors that might be in there. Charlie, what are those ranking factors?
Yeah, so Ahrefs basically they've analysed 75,000 brands, they say, which to me is a pretty decent sample size to see which search factors are most likely to influence brand mentions in AI overviews. This graph that is on the screen now, if anyone's watching, shows the correlation that they've seen. So branded web mentions is by far and away the biggest factor that they've seen influencing this from their study, followed by branded anchors and branded search volume. And then from there, the graph, I think, rapidly goes down in how influential it thinks other factors are. So ad traffic and ad cost, they were the interesting ones to me that came out really low at the bottom there. So the overall view basically from this study is that brand is super important when it comes to AI overviews.
Yeah, indeed. One thing I would say about this is the way that the study has been done is they use something called the Spearman coefficient correlation, which basically means you take all the possible ranking factors, so some for domain and some for keywords. So for domain, it is how many links you have to your website, to your pages, how many backlinks in total you have, and so on. Whereas the keywords are, brand mentions and anchor text and things like that. And the way they do it is they measure it on a scale of 1 to -1, and you get all the the points in between. How often they're seeing whether it's a brand factor, like this the keywords that people use, or if it's a website factor, like the offsite, the backlinks, as I mentioned before. So in the end, they said that there are moderate to weak relationships between these things and how well a brand appears in the search results. But there is something there. The way I'm picturing it is, okay, you can't look at this and think that this is definitely the ranking factors that we should all be following. Great, I need to make branded web mentions my priority right now. But it's more like somebody gives you a puzzle of the Mona Lisa and you get just enough pieces together. You're like, well, you don't have the box. You get just enough pieces together. And you go, that's the Mona Lisa. I have a good idea of like what I'm supposed to be doing from this point on. These are like a good starting point to help you towards understanding how you do your AI search optimization strategy to then increase your visibility in AI overviews, in ChatGPT, Google's AI mode. Perhaps actually for anyone who's not listened before, Charlie, it'd be good to hear what AI mode is as well, because maybe they didn't listen to us last week.
Sure. For the deep dive of that, listen to our podcast episode from last week, which was on AI mode specifically, and it dives into everything about it. We spent a really good power hour, I think, talking about that one. AI mode is essentially a new AI type of search that Google has rolled out in the US only. So it's a search option that you can toggle on the same way you would do for images, for example, or for news at the top of your Google feed if you are based in the US. And then it essentially gives you an AI generated answer back. So it's another LLM, another large language model like ChatGPT, like Gemini, but it's actually in Google's browser now as well. I think probably one of the interesting things about this study, and I don't think this should be seen as the be all and end all of factors about AI overviews. We know from our own work that there's quite a lot of different things that Google pays attention to when it's putting brands in AI overviews. What I think is interesting, and the trend I have seen across not just this study, but lots of studies from interesting and influential thought leaders in our industry, is that digital PR essentially actually building your brand and getting PR mentions for that across the internet. And I'm not just talking about backlinks when I say that. I'm thinking much more broadly about when a business gets mentioned, when it gets spoken about in forums like Reddit, like Quora, when it gets mentioned on news sites, not always linked. As we know, there's a bit of a game that goes on with backlinks in what is known as most of SEO's link building at the moment. And I think this is just another sort of testament towards the importance of not just thinking about your own website and what's happening on your website, but thinking about all of the signals that you get for your brand and for building mentions across the internet being increasingly important.
It kind of matches up with how I thought about backlinks over the past couple of years. And I imagine this is how Google have tried to engineer it. Now, there'll still be like thousands of ranking factors, and always have been for traditional SEO. I think it's going to be the case with AI SO, AI search optimization, in that Google is aware that not every website links back. They're constantly saying, we're aware that publishers, news publishers, rarely link back to sources because of many different reasons. Sometimes because that's the rule that's been laid down at some of these publishers. Like, you take The Guardian, they may not traditionally link back to you. So if you work in digital PR, often you have to try and kind of push them to do so. I think Google are aware that people don't link anymore, or rarely do. So you design a system that doesn't require links. So you figure out how to analyze how the value of a brand and how trustworthy it is, and how much authority it has. And coming back to EEAT, if you were to design a system that can utilize AI to understand content on its own without any links, you would design it that way. And I think that's kind of coming through here in they figured out how to do that, where backlinks, I'm not saying they aren't worth as much as they used to be. In fact, they very, very much still are, because we're talking about hundreds of ranking factors, and they're certainly not going to be reduced to zero.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd make it work in the way that it clearly, as far as I see it, works today.
I'm definitely glad to see this shift towards brand and mentions becoming more important, because in my early career, I worked in content and link building, digital PR work, outreach. And there's a lot of funny games that have gone on in that type of marketing as a result of Google saying that backlinks are more important. And so therefore, everyone thinking about the link equity, the link juice they're getting from actually having their brand name or whatever it is linked to on other websites. And that has just spawned various other things of publishers, for example, not wanting to link, as you mentioned, Dale. Then therefore they're not linking sources or citations, which I think is terrible business. If you were writing essays or in academic journals, you would absolutely be fully citing your sources. And I think that should be the way it is. It's led to pay to play type situations with link building as well, where publishers will do things like not link to a website and then ask for money in order to actually add a backlink to a mention. I think this is a good move from Google in terms of just scrapping all of those games that are going on with link building that actually are not helpful, because it does become a pay-to-play type situation with backlink building. And I'm glad to see that actually we'll be moving more towards thinking about the importance of brand and measuring that across multiple areas, and less emphasis on actually having hyperlinked text on other websites. I do also think it's important that Google doesn't only pull website from information from the website of a business itself. It looks at other opinions, it looks at other perspectives on that website, because it's a dangerous game to only trust what a website publishes about themselves as well. So I think it's a question of finding the right balance with SEO and finding the right balance with ranking factors in AI types of searches when it comes to this, because you don't want it to be all what other people say about you and nothing what you say about yourself. So there needs to be a bit of both. And I think it's very difficult at this stage to know from these studies exactly how much weight is put on your on-site content versus all of the PR. As you mentioned earlier, Dale, these graphs from Ahrefs, they're great, but this is correlation, not necessarily direct causation going on here.
Yeah, I have so much to say on this, because like I think you personally have been talking about the value of brand for quite a while, and trying to kind of make sure your business has a good and strong brand understanding, brand positioning, to make the work of digital PR, to make the work of content marketing and SEO generally work better for you. And it looks like, again, correlation, not causation, at least from this report, brands do seem to get far more mentions in AI results, or AI overviews in this case, because of all of that brand work over the years. That you're not just doing, as you said, the on-site stuff. You're doing the what other kinds of marketing can I be doing, whether that's coordinated or organic search, or coordinated paid social or organic social. Is it PPC to kind of get your brand out there, to be seen more often, discussed more often, doing in your case, Charlie, going out there and speaking on behalf of Exposure Ninja in person can also impact how people write about you, or write about Exposure Ninja and our capabilities when it comes to AI search optimization as well. Like you appearing at Brighton SEO, for example, writing, speaking about it, people will then write about Brighton SEO, and then that's more expanded mentions of the business and you, and that helps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's not the really important thing, I think, with marketing strategy is not to think of everything in silo, not to think like, oh, I need SEO and that's separate from my digital PR and that's separate from my actual PR or event speaking. All of these things are completely intertwined, and really strong, successful strategies, they're integrated. You're doing all a mix of those things because you know that it's going to support with your web presence long term, and even more so, increasingly so, now that AI search is becoming more of a mainstay of how we search, and predicting that it will continue to do so. And actually, probably we're going to be moving to a world where AI search is the new normal for everyone when it comes to search eventually. And I think the important thing for businesses to think about is it's not just, oh, I have this person who does SEO. That needs to be integrated with the content you're doing on your website. Beyond that, it needs to be integrated with digital PR, and beyond that, it needs to be integrated with your not even offsite in terms of the internet, but your broader world marketing strategy that you're actually doing. And that can be things like the charities that your business might contribute to, the events that you speak at, the networking that you do. All of those sorts of things are really important to SEO now, rather than thinking of just, pure technical SEO as a separate thing that means you can get mentioned in AI search. It's not siloed like that.
Yeah, you've got to work all together. Do you know, I wrote something this morning on LinkedIn, a very short piece, is just resharing somebody else's point about the different metrics we should be using within the world of search in relation to AI visibility and so on. And this person had written a fantastic piece. And as a data person myself, I think maybe in another life I could have worked in data analytics and things like that. I think that would have excited me quite a lot. The terms that they were using were far too complex. And they're talking about, I'm not going to go into the wording because it's just too complicated. When we're discussing this as a collaborative, on a campaign level, internally, in-house, whatever it is, when we're working integrated together, we have to use like really simple language to discuss what we're trying to accomplish. Like we are trying to increase the volume of, entity visibility and so on, all these different things. But when talking to stakeholders, we need to simplify and say brand mentions, brand visibility, share of voice, things like that. Otherwise, people can have a really hard time buying into this idea that AI search is the future of search marketing, because they're going to think that's just complicated. Like with technical SEO, which we do quite well, it's hard to present that because people are in the board level, senior leadership are just like, just talk to me in numbers, like just talk to me in pounds and dollars, like just what was actually the work that you're doing going to deliver to my to my bottom line. So you have to be really careful, like use the right kind of wording to get the buy-in, because it's going to be so important to get people all working together to do better brand marketing with SEO included, organic, social, PPC, and so on.
Yeah, my opinion on this has always been simple reporting is effective reporting. The more stuff you try and cram into a report, the more things you talk about, the more confusing it becomes for everyone involved. And ultimately, what you're looking for is what is the bottom line contribution of this marketing to the business. And yes, SEO isn't an overnight thing. You're not suddenly increasing your revenue by thousands the next day. It's a slow burner, and a business has to decide that it's investing in an SEO strategy, a digital PR strategy, and that's part of the plan. But ultimately, there should be progress markers like the metrics you're describing here, Dale, showing something's moving in the right direction. And ultimately, then that should be improving the bottom line for the business. Oh, he's got a graph. He's got more graphs. I've lost your sound a bit there, Dale.
Graphs all over the place. So many graphs, I can't even remember to unmute myself. So I do have a couple of graphs lined up, which were kind of earlier on, which is just to kind of talk about the coverage of AI overviews within search results. Like we're seeing a huge increase. So this is back from March when Sistrix, which is a Germany-based company, I believe, who've been doing like, they have one of the best search visibility indexes out there. They were showing that AI overviews were appearing for like 14% of searches in the UK on mobile back in like the middle of March, I believe it was. And that's now increasing where it's closer to like 17%. So just looking at this Semrush report just earlier this morning, they're saying that, you can see the visibility of AI overviews is increasing. And with AI mode in the US now expanding rapidly, this number, whether it's AI overviews or AI mode, is going to be close to 30% by the end of the year is my kind of prediction, if not bigger than that, because there's so much. Google is so sold on the idea that this is just better for their end user, for searchers. So you have to kind of really be aware of like how this all works. Otherwise, you are not going to get mentioned, and it doesn't matter what metrics you follow for how frequently you're mentioned, what the sentiment is. If you're not taking active steps to feature in these places, you're just going to see a continual decrease in traffic, which I think is what a lot of people are starting to report at the moment, where they haven't taken the proactive approach to appearing in AI overviews for key terms, for key topics, and so on. And on that point, Semrush, who are fantastic partners of ours, have given us a URL. You can go and visit their AI toolkit, which is, I truly believe, whether they're giving us a link or not, is one of the better tools out there for measuring your brand's search visibility at the moment. Charlie, have you used the AI toolkit so far?
Yeah, I have used the AI toolkit, and I think it's a very accessible tool, mainly because it keeps the reporting, as I just mentioned earlier, really simple and top level. It doesn't overcomplicate things, and it breaks it down like you've got on the screen here, Dale. Market share, overall sentiment, consumer engagement. It's really nice and easy for someone to take in. And my favorite part of it is where it actually gives you the action points, the recommendations and takeaways. Yeah. So it's actually doing it for you. You're not having to look at all of this data everywhere and think, what am I doing with this data? It's already telling you that, which is perfect. It's exactly what you want from reporting, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I just love how it just at a glance kind of stuff is my personal favorite. Like, I can just tell straight off the bat, like, who's dominating in the space. So this is just an example we set up earlier for Vanguard investments. And you can see that in terms of market share, I believe I set this to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, Fidelity doing slightly better than Vanguard are. So Fidelity, I can't say that word today, apparently. Fidelity, that's the one. Are at 28% visibility for the search queries or the conversations that have been tracked by Semrush. versus Vanguard's 25%. So immediately you if you're a Vanguard, you're thinking, okay, how do I increase my percentage? What do I need to do to increase my market share for when people are doing searches around investment queries? And another great one is like the sentiment, like how positive or negative are people feeling about my brand versus my competitors? We've got an example here of like the key sentiment drivers. These are the things that are helping Vanguard. So for audio listeners, the brand strength factors here are low cost investment options or the client owned mutual ownership structure, the focus on long term passive investing philosophy. Like these are great things, but also, as Charlie mentioned, give you those clues of here's where you've got to focus to improve your the sentiment around your brand. So in this case, Vanguard apparently have less technological innovation and advanced tools versus some peers. So what can they do with their product management team, product marketing team, whoever, to improve that so that the sentiment slowly kind of increases and the visibility for Vanguard increases alongside it?
I also think this is personally great for thinking about what you want your business to be known for. Because on here, you can have a look at your competitors and think, okay, well, how are they showing up? What are they really known for? And this list that you're just showing there, Dale, of the strengths and areas for improvement, it may well be that some businesses, there's areas of improvement where you think that's not what I want to be known for. I don't want to be pursuing that type of positioning, even though that's something a competitor might be doing, and decide to push much harder into the ones that you're already doing well on, because that's how you want to be known. And I think this is a perfect example of being able to really easily see that information so that you can make those decisions. And if you're a business thinking, I have no idea what my positioning is or how I'm thought of, this is a great top level way to actually look at, okay, this is what the internet currently thinks. This is what AI search, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whichever one you've got toggled on, thinks about my business's positioning. And then you can look at the areas of improvement to decide, are these true or are these not true? It may well be, for example, that Vanguard does have some great tech innovation. Perhaps they just never talk about it. Perhaps they don't have any PR or branded content around it. Perhaps it's totally just behind their doors, behind the scenes, that they have that. Maybe they don't have it at all. I think it's a really good example of then being able to make good decisions in your positioning, in your brand, and the type of PR work that you're doing. And it's a really great starting point to just dive into one of these AI toolkits for your business, have a look, and then make a couple of decisions about your marketing strategy from there.
Absolutely. And another good part of this, and whether Semrush providing us with a link for you to go and follow and check out the AI toolkit for yourself, which is exposure.ninja/AI toolkit. Whether they're giving it to us or not, I would highly recommend this tool from just like personally, because this is one of the, as Charlie's pointed out, the simplest and best overview tools that you're going to find at the moment. Like if I very quickly want to get a snapshot and get everybody on board with the idea of these are our priorities right now, this is how much coverage we're getting, this is where I'd want to push people towards, because it's just off the bat straight and easy to understand. I do kind of like some of the suggestions that they make for some of these queries, so the topics. So in this case, it says investment strategies and education. What can you do about that? What can you write in this, suggesting, what are the advantages of investing in low-cost index funds? Could be a great piece of content. And straight off the bat, okay, this is where my content focus should be. I can write about this. And you got to think of it in a slightly different way than you may do with search volume. Like traditionally, Charlie, we'd make a list of keywords that we want to appear for based on a priority of like how much intent there is there, how much value there is to the business in the ranking for that, but also in how high the volume is as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's going to be more emphasis on not only thinking about keywords, though, as we go forward. I think there's going to be a lot more emphasis on thinking about the topics that we want to be known for.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think this is why, in Semrush's SEO toolkit, which I can go to now as well, if I can if it carries across. Let's try that. It's vanguard.com. They've also added in a really good topic overview as well. So if you're using their I can't show you the topics right now. Oh no, frustrating. It has a very similar setup where it tells you all of the different kinds of topics that your website appears for, and then you can determine, okay, well, this segment is not anywhere near large enough. Let's have a look at the long way of talking about that, but let's look at the core what's it called, entity. Like in the example of the best iPad cases for an iPad Air or something like that, the entity is iPad Air or iPad Air cases. Just try and focus on how do you increase your visibility for those core entities, and then regardless of how complex the long question is or query in AI mode or ChatGPT, you should feature well because you figured out this is the main core kind of entity or search query that would pull a search result, and you would hopefully appear well in there in the top couple of rankings.
Yeah,
even I feel like it's getting complicated.
It is. Let's break it down. So in a nutshell then, if you're a business owner or a marketing manager, what does all of this actually mean, and how does it impact your business? So if organic traffic is important to you, if that's a big revenue driver and you want to be seen in AI overviews, you want to make sure that your brand is sticky and memorable. We know from multiple studies, including this Ahrefs one, that brand is becoming more important within SEO. So you can't only be thinking about technical SEO, you have to be thinking broader about your business. And a big part of that is how other websites and other sources write about you and talk about you on the internet. So the nutshell is, if you want to be seen and do well in AI overviews, but also more broadly in AI, and you have no idea where to start, have a quick look at Semrush's AI toolkit. It's a good idea to see how you're spoken about at the moment. Don't overemphasize on thinking about backlinks. The days of backlinks being more important than unlinked general brand mentions are starting to move behind us now. And it's more important to think about how your business gets mentioned and where it gets mentioned, about what topics it gets mentioned, and make sure you're broadening your SEO strategy to include not only great on-site content, but really good off-site content and PR, online digital PR and offline PR as well.
Spot on. And again, just in case you didn't catch it before, it's exposure.ninja/AI-toolkit. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there for this week because there's a lot to digest in there, and I want people to still have the time in their day to process it, because I think I'm still processing it as well.
We're all still processing.
The main thing I want you to take away from today is, as Charlie said, is that this is a big priority. Like, AI overviews are here to stay. They're only going to increase. AI mode is the next level beyond that, and that is going to become the default long term. You can't not make this a key factor of your search marketing strategy going forward. It just has to be there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, please do let us know. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast app or down on the comments here on YouTube and on LinkedIn as well. We do appreciate it and love to know what you'd like to hear us talk about more in the future. Otherwise, you can hear us next week live at 10 a.m. UK time, or you can just catch us at exposureninja.com/podcast. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week.
See you next week.